Nation divided will not stand, and a people divided will be destroyed. And I think that's what the World Economic Forum is banking on. We've got Yuval Noah Harari, who is the lead advisor, one of the lead advisors to Mr. Klaus Schwab, who are leading this great reset and who truly believe what they're about to say. It is amazing, astonishing, ladies and gentlemen, brethren. You are about to witness some pure evil. At least that's how I see it. The true destruction of our society, engineered by social engineers and celebrated by politicians in their pocket. Let's take a look.
The biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. The problem is
what to do with all these useless people. And that's how they term us. That is really his thinking. That is their thinking. We're useless people. We are consumers of the goods that really should be relegated to the royalty class above us. We really shouldn't have what we have, the middle class, and those, of course, struggling to retain their positions on this social ladder that seems so slippery. It's very easy to drop to the bottom. Debt overtaking so many people, and of course inflation, a huge problem that's up and coming all around the world as food is becoming scarce, and we're already seeing that in nations that are outside of the Western nations. But it is coming home. We're already seeing those chickens, those diseased chickens coming home to roost. You're seeing this so-called brand new avian flu or something that's also causing culling. You're seeing shortages in grain, gasoline prices going up. We're seeing a lot of unintended effects that are working their way through the system, and yet it all seems to fit perfectly with the Great Reset. So isn't that a little bit interesting? Let's see some more.
It's more boredom, and what to do with them, and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless?
Okay, well that makes sense, right? If you're on basic income, you're on basic income, you don't need to work. And remember, the basic income is pushed by the great resetters, okay? So basic income, you're on that. You're getting free money. That's very hard to have any kind of sense of worth when you're getting money given to you. It actually is a soul-destroying thing. I remember when I had some medical problems about 2009 or something like that, I refused to go on disability. And mind you, I had family support, so I got no... That's just something I had, okay? So I was blessed. I'm not talking about other people's cases, but I knew my own case where I already had family support. I really had to get myself out of that mess, and I just couldn't go on a lifetime of disability. I didn't want to do that. I knew that it would be soul-destroying for me. It's very easy, and I think that people, who are in those situations, they've got to find meaning outside of that. It's very hard to force yourself to do something, to get up every day and to have a purpose, because otherwise it's very simple. You just get a check in the mail, you sit around, and before you know it, you've got this, the soul becomes degenerate and becomes reduced. The soul of man becomes reduced because you don't have a point anymore. And I think these fellows know that, and they're saying here, okay, well, what are we going to do with all these people? What are we going to do with them when there ain't nothing to do? We don't really need them anymore. They're useless eaters. They're just eating and burning up the resources that are better given to the royalty class.
My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games.
Okay, so I think you just gave the game away right over here. Drugs and computer games, you're seeing that with the wide amount of pornography available. It's funny, right? Disinformation is a huge problem. Misinformation is a huge problem. But drugs and pornography, cannabis, totally legal in many, many more states now. And of course in Canada, it's rampant. It's on every corner, on every street, every block. And I got no problem with cannabis users. Don't get me wrong. I'm a very lightweight user of cannabis myself, just like I'm a pretty strong drinker. Mind you, I've cut back a lot. Why? Because I understand. I understand what they're trying to do here. They're trying to stupidify us. And stupidify us how? By getting us hooked to Soma. As in Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, getting us addicted to things that make us lower, that bring us down to the level of animals. Sexual gratification. And don't get me wrong, I'm somebody who enjoys sexual energy. I've got a lot of it. It's raging through my body. But the secret to sexual transmutation into constructive work is a secret that has only been known by a very select few. But once you harness that and you simply don't just spill your seed, you're able to do great things. And that's what I envision for my children and for the human population that's up and coming, that's going to be a separator, a distinct separator from this mass herd that simply wants to give in to their baser instincts and become stupidified and lowered and degenerated, truly the degeneration of a species. Canadians had a pro-rec sport in 1930s, and what was that? It was about building your bodies, building your mind, and getting ready for a spiritual war. In fact, they had a real war, a hot war on their heels, so this was something that you had to do, and I truly believe we're going to have to do the exact same thing. We're going to have to get physically tougher, we're going to have to get mentally tougher, we're going to have to get ready for the next steps, because they're coming, and they're coming really, really fast.
A combination of drugs and computer games as a solution for more. It's already happening. Under different titles, different headings, you see more and more people spending more and more time or solving their inner problems with drugs and computer games.
That's beautifully put right there. You see more and more people solving their inner problems with drugs and computer games. Okay, your inner problems, your spiritual problems, your, how can I put it, existential problems can only be solved with God, with prayer. And if you don't actually solve those and see that incredible force out there, and I don't care what you call whatever God you pray to, okay? I've got my personal beliefs, everybody's got their own. But if you don't actually just pray to God for strength, and you don't celebrate that and teach your children that God is real, and that you can be more than just flesh and blood, that you've got a soul, an eternal soul, then I'm going to tell you what, right here, right now, you're going to end up following along with this. You're going to end up plugging into the Matrix, putting on that VR headset. Imagine what's next. Every one of your sexual needs gratified by a machine. Every one of your organic needs, a feeding tube, a sexual implement that simply degrades you. Degrades your soul.
Both legal drugs and illegal drugs. You look at Japan today, and Japan is maybe 20 years ahead of the world in everything, and you see all these new social phenomenon of people having relationships with virtual spouses.
Okay, so Japan is set on a degenerate path, and you're telling me that I got to fall in love, like in that movie you heard with Joaquin Phoenix, I'm going to fall in love with some kind of pretend girlfriend? Are you kidding me? This is why I truly believe you got to teach the youth, honestly, to put down that pornography, that degeneracy, okay? And you got to get them to actually, because I'll tell you something, that seed builds up, it gives you a killer instinct and edge. You go out and you get a woman, okay? You go and win her heart. All right, you find a good woman. Men pick their spouses with less care than they pick their horses, right? And that is a truism from the back in the day, from the past, and it's a truism today. We got to bring back that traditionalism, okay? We got to bring back the things that work, because if we don't, this is the future we're headed. And I'm going to tell you what, right now, this ain't looking pretty. It really ain't looking pretty.
And you have people who never leave the house and just live through computers. I think once you're superfluous, you don't have power. Again, we are used to the age of the masses of the 19th and 20th century, where you saw all these successful, massive uprisings, revolutions, revolts. So we are used to thinking about the masses as powerful. But this is basically a 19th century and 20th century phenomenon.
Okay, so we're used to thinking of the masses as powerful, but that's an old paradigm. The paradigm shift has occurred, and truly we're powerless, and we got to be on the feeding tube, we got to be on the degeneracy tube, we got to have our sexual needs and all of our physical needs for sustenance, spiritual as well, filled up, filled up by this crap, in other words, right? By this chaff, when all we want is the wheat. Okay, and I'm telling you right here, right now, that he's right, that Yuval Noah Harari is correct. He's correct in what he's saying, in the sense of he's identified the problem, but the trouble is that they want to push us into that problem. They want to increase that so that they can offer a solution. Well, I'm offering you a solution right now. What's that solution, brethren? It's very simple. It is say no to degeneracy, say no to the degeneracy of your own soul, of your body. Stop putting crap into you, whether it's spiritual, whether it's what you watch, what you read, whether it's the movies that you see, whether it's the Disney TV shows that you watch, whether it's the junk food and the corn syrup and the rest of the fake foods that you put into yourself. Apply the same element to your discernment, to your spiritual intake, okay? Cultivate friendships and relationships with people that matter and that count, that are good for you. That's what I ask you to do, and do the same thing for your children. Don't allow your children to go down this metaverse path. Take that tablet from their hands and throw that in the bin. I've taken all that electronic garbage, and I'm a computer programmer for my kids. Why? Because it's a degeneracy. It's a derangement. It actually destroys the goodness in them. They become addicted and glued to this garbage. Why? Because they make money off this. It's money and degeneration of man.
Today actually manage to live, many people, as isolated, alienated individuals. In the most advanced societies, many people live as alienated individuals with no community to speak about.
Wow, absolutely. He's correct. 100%. People are living alienated, isolated, scared. Do you know how many calls and people I get? I get calls, people that are saying to me, "Oh, Ro, I just want to get together and have fun again." Right? And they've done this on purpose 2 friggin' years. Mandate this, mandate that, dictate this, dictate that. We're not allowed to mix. You're not allowed to see this person. I got this one lady I'm thinking of right now. She's a very elderly woman, and she's barely been able to have any kind of human contact in a home. And I'm gonna have to talk to my mother. I'm gonna get her number. I'm gonna go and visit her. Right now, I'm thinking this because this is the true destruction of our communities everywhere. Nobody having to know each other. You just pay for any service you need. You get that service from the government, and you don't look back. You don't need your family. Why do you need your family? Why do you need to cultivate a relationship? Why do you need to actually be nice to one another and have a relationship and maybe be accepting of different views? No, you don't have to. Why? Because you can pay the government. You can pay for a service that will replace your family. And of course, there's a government service for that. There's an app for that, as they say.
With a very small family, it's no longer the big extended family. It's now a very small family, maybe just a spouse, maybe 1 or 2 children, and even they might live in a different city, in a different country, and you see them maybe once in every few months, and that's it.
Correctly identifying the problem, Harari offers no solution. What is the solution here? More government programs? No, I'll tell you what the solution is here, is to cultivate a bigger family, is to procreate, is to increase your bloodline. We see the birth rate dropping all the time, and it's celebrating. You know what we do? We just bring in more immigrants. Well, I'm going to tell you what my opinion is. This is increase your bloodline, increase your family, build your lineage. That's the purpose of life. Okay, it's for your soul to ascend while creating more children on this planet, and then eventually going to the stars so we can do it again over there. That's the purpose of life. That's why we're born. I know, it's crazy. It sounds nuts. It's not to put a feeding tube in and they plug into the matrix, into the metaverse. It's to get to space. Okay, it's to get out there. It's to go further. It's to be more. It's to be way more than we are here. We're not just flesh and blood. We're spiritual beings put here for a purpose. And we got to harden ourselves. And if that means we got to fast, and that's what I've been doing for a while now to clear my mind, we got to fast. Okay, because otherwise that's the only way to get to that next level. All this stuff slows you down. You just keep drinking, and I'm a drinker. Don't get me wrong. Cannabis, same thing, right? You just smoke some weed and the rest. It's so easy to just sit on that couch. You got to get up. You got to clear it. Okay, you got to walk in the cold. You got to disrobe. You got to walk down. You got to jump in the snow. When there's snow, you got to jump in the snow disrobed to feel that cold all over your body so that you can be in touch again. You got to roll in that mud with your dog. Hail, brethren.
After millions of years of evolution, suddenly within 200 years, the family and the intimate community break, they collapse.
No, they don't collapse because I don't let them collapse because I'm the leader of my own family and I don't let it collapse. You let it collapse. You want it to collapse, but I won't let it collapse. My family is the reason that I live. I will not let it collapse.
Most of the roles fulfilled by the family and by the intimate community for thousands and tens of thousands of years are transferred very quickly to new networks provided by the state and the market. You don't need children, you can have a pension fund.
This guy is something else. You hear this guy? Okay, so you think that you can replace eons, millennia of evolution, millions of years of this kind of thing, literally being born from the spark of creation. And you're going to replace that? You're going to replace that with what? With a pension fund? When I look upon my children smiling at me, their little twinkling eyes, that is ecstasy. When they scream and shout, and my wife says, "Hey, Ro, can you do something about these kids?" Well, that's a purpose for me, brethren. That is a purpose for me. When my little baby craps in his pants and I change the nappy, that's purpose for me. And then I hold him, and I hold that little bundle of joy. And then he burps. That's living, brethren. That is living. It cannot be replaced by a pension fund or a government program or by any environmental edict. It cannot be replaced by welfare. No. I got the best welfare plan of all. Okay, the best pension plan. You know what it is? I know myself. I'm going to be getting a heart attack in about 20 years or so. My wife will hang around. My kids realize, okay, I've already taught them this, that their duty is to take care of their mother. I know it's a weird concept, right? Their duty is to take care of their mother when their father is not around anymore. And I say to them, listen, you're not going to Valhalla. You won't get there if you're worthless. You'll be worthless if you don't take care of your mother. You'll be worthless. And I won't be able to look upon you. And that's what my father said to me, and I still remember. And that has made a big impact on me. That's how I live my life, because of these lessons that I was taught, how to be a man and have duty. And that's the opposite of connecting to a video game and living a life of collecting coins or gems or jewels or whatever you do in these metaverse games. Masturbatory exercises of a false spirituality.
You don't need somebody to take care of you. You don't need neighbors and sisters or brothers to take care of you when you're sick. The state takes care of you.
Thank you, brother.
The states provide you with police, with education, with health, with everything.
Protecting kids from inappropriate content is going to be more difficult in the metaverse. Nay, brother, because my kids aren't in the metaverse. Metaverse warnings will only be visible to the person immersed in it. Not to worry, brother, because my kids won't be in the metaverse. Of course, children would be more deeply immersed in an experience, a false experience that you push upon them when they're 3 years old. Of course, children would be more immersed, but guess what? They won't be, because I'm not putting them in there. I'm not teaching my children this is normal. I'm not allowing my children, my 3-year-old, to think this is normal. It's normal to be hooked into this and to collect those gems. It's not. Listen, I'll tell you what's normal. Finger painting, digging in the dirt, eating a worm in the grass. That's normal. Getting on a bicycle, biking outside in the sun. That's normal. Learning some mathematics. That's normal. Being normal. Boy, girl, PV. That's normal. Okay? Parents will need to take an active interest in the metaverse. All this presumes that we accept your thesis, that we're going to be plugged in, that our children are going to be plugged in. Well, I tell you what, brethren, right here, right now, I refuse, and I bet you refuse too. Hail, brethren, hail freedom. Refuse to be chattel of the state. Refuse to be diminished and deranged and degenerated into these low, crawling, slithering things of the earth. Nay, I would say unto you, brethren, rise as a man, as a woman, as something bigger and better. Hail freedom, hail, brethren. Say no to the Great Reset.